In this video, we are going to go over a question from the organizational profile, the Silver Quality Award organizational profile. And in fact, it's the same question for the gold. So this is good for both the silver and the gold quality award. And so let me get right into it. I've had a lot of questions about this one particular question. So while I'm getting there, if you are new to me, my name is Ralph Peterson, and I am a quality award consultant and examiner with the American Healthcare Association. And I help organizations figure out what the criteria actually is saying, what it means, what it's looking for. So if you have any questions, please reach out and I will do my best to make a little video like this answering that question. And today we're going to be looking at this question, P1A3, all about the workforce profile. Now, I have a workbook that I'm going to use. I created this workbook. This workbook is designed so that you don't miss any questions. As you can see from looking at just the application, oops, let me go back to the application. If you just look at this application, we're looking at this one question. This is P1A3. However, if you're not careful, you might miss, there are actually 6 questions in this one question. Question number 1, what is your workforce profile? Question number 2, what are your workforce employee groups or segments? Question number 3, what are their drivers of engagement? Question number 4, what key changes are you experiencing? Capability, capacity, and composition. 6 parts to this question, which is why I created this workbook. So we use this workbook. We have one for all 3 levels, the bronze, the silver, and the gold, so that you don't miss any parts of the question. So let's get right into it. Let's break down this question because it is so important. It's such a great question. And just so you know, in case you haven't looked ahead, this question actually appears 2 more times. 3 times this question will come up in the application. The first question is, what is your workforce profile? This is a question that you've already hinted at in the bronze application. We're just asking you for a brief overview of your workforce profile. What are your workforce employee groups and segments? And what are the key drivers of engagement? Again, this is question number 1. This is question number 2. This is question number 3. These are from the Bronze Quality Award application, so not a lot of changes here unless there have been changes. You can ignore my little table here, but this is how I respond. I would say, I have my workforce group. I have a clinical workforce group, and I have a support workforce group. I have an administrative workforce group. And then I would just, do the 2, 3, 4, 5 drivers of engagement. Don't worry about that. That's not what I wanted to talk about. These are the questions that I want to talk about here. So let me back up and say a couple of things. First and foremost, the whole intent behind the Silver Quality Award organizational profile, and at the gold level, the organizational profile, the entire point of the organizational profile is to provide a window to the examiner, the reader, so that we can look in on your business and learn what you do, who you do it for, who your customers are, who your staffing is, who your vendors are, what changes, what's significant about your operation, what challenges you have, what are you facing, what's your market look like, how competitive is it where you're at, what's your limitations if you have any, or special business relationships that you need to have with other vendors and suppliers of services and goods. Like, we're trying to find exactly what your inner workings of your organization look like so that we can be best prepared to read the entire application, getting a fuller understanding. So keep in mind, the organizational profile is a snapshot of your organization to provide the examiner, the reader, with enough information so that we can go forward knowing exactly what you do and who you do it for and what is significant to you. That's important, that whole concept of what is significant to you. And I'm going to point it out right here, the word key. The word key means most important. And when we're talking about most important, I also want to add a timeline. When it comes to this application, there are going to be times when it's appropriate to bring up the past year, 2 years, 3 years even. There'll be some appropriate timelines where you can add a 3 years worth of data. Not here though. Here we're looking for a timeline of 12 to 18 months. 12 to 18 months. This is a recent question. This question is about any recent, most important changes, that's the key word, changes that you are experiencing in your workforce capability, capacity, and composition. So once we first understand what the word key means, and we're looking at the timeline, the last 12 to 18 months, now we can really start addressing the question of capability. What does capability mean? Well, in short, I would invite you to consider using the word skill level. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about capability. What has there been any changes? Any significant changes? And by significant meaning, you don't have to go looking for them, right? I mean, they're right in your face, like they're honking challenges or changes that you're dealing with when it comes to workforce skill level. I'll give you an example. I have a customer who said that prior to maybe 18 months ago or 2 years ago, they would always get applicants for CNAs from CNAs. But recently, over the last 12 to 18 months or so, he said he's been getting more and more applicants from people who have no skill level. They don't even know that they need to have some certification, like becoming a certified nursing assistant. They don't even know that exists. So they're coming in, applying for a job. We heard you're hiring. I'm looking for work. What can we do here? And what he's finding is the people that are coming in for jobs have no skill level to do the job. That's a capability issue. And so in the last 12 to 18 months, he has seen an increased number of applicants coming in with no skill level or very little skill level. The reason this is important, the reason it would be important to write this down is because of the implication it has on the organization. If you have an organization where you need skilled workers, people who are knowledge workers, they know what they're doing, and you're getting more and more applicants that do not know what they're doing, well, that is a problem you're going to have to figure out how to overcome. Like in this guy's case, he is putting in to start their own CNA course. They never needed to have their own CNA course before in all the years that he'd been operating in this area. But now he has to because more and more employees are coming, potential employees are coming, and they don't have any skill level. So it's a problem he needs to address, i.e. it is important. It's most important. That's what we mean by key. Does that make sense, hopefully? So when you're looking at workforce capability, think of the skill level. On the other side of it, I remember reading, this is years ago, obviously, this is World War II. I remember reading about these teachers that were overqualified to be teaching because the war was going on and there weren't a lot of jobs. So you'd have like these high-end brainiacs like physicists or whatever, teaching ninth grade math or something or biology in a high school. And there was a huge disconnect because they were so much more capable than the job that they were doing, but that was the only job that was available. That would also be a change if something like that's happening with you. I know that, let me tell you this. I remember I had a woman who came to work for me. She was from Bosnia. This was early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, I guess. And she was from Bosnia. And so she had a language barrier. There was a lot of language issues because obviously English wasn't her first language. And so she took a job working for us in housekeeping. She did a great job. She was really, really nice. She worked really hard. As her language got better and her English got better and we started to be able to talk more, I learned that in Bosnia, she was an engineer. Wait a minute. I remember just my mind being blown. I'm like, hold on. Pardon me. What? Right? But her skill level didn't match the opportunity that was in front of her. So she had this amazing amount of ability to do amazing things, but here she was working in housekeeping in a nursing home, right? So that, again, have there been any key changes over the last 12 to 18 months in your workforce's capability, their skill level? Even think of it like this, because this question is going to come up 2 more times. And imagine if you're hiring for a higher skill level and you're not finding it. There's a ton of CNAs but no LPNs, right? Or there's no RNs. Like that's sometimes a big rub, right? Like we're not finding the people that we need. That's a skill level. The next question is about capacity. And when we think about capacity, just think of the number of. And I think all of us, or at least most of us, can relate to the idea of having some key changes when it comes to how many people are applying for work, right? Like where we're getting employees from, like if they're agency versus not agency. It seems like everybody's making the move toward agency now, which is making it very challenging for us to be able to even afford more staffing. And so we're having this big battle with trying to get enough people in the building. And that has been very significant in the last 12 to 18 months, maybe even a little longer. We've been dealing with this for a little bit. But that is an example of a change, a key change, an important change, a change that is impacting business big time when it comes to workforce capacity. And then finally, we have composition. And composition is simply the makeup of your organization. The makeup of your organization, makeup of your staff. And this could include something as generic as geography. I was working with a home in Ohio that started to get their workers, they started to attract workers from further and further and further away. And it created this need to start trying to figure out how to provide, especially last minute, goodness knows, transportation solutions to people who couldn't get to work for one reason or another. And oh, by the way, they don't live down the street. They live 3 towns over, right? Like it's a big leap. And because this organization in Ohio that I was working with most of their workers started to come from further and further away, it really created an even more significant challenge when if there's a snow day. Like normally, I grew up in Vermont. I started my long-term care career in the state of Vermont. We would have snow days. Like we would have days where the roads would be closed, and we would the administrators, everybody, we would be calling our staff going, "We'll come get you." Like we're just going to do the loop around the town to try to pick up all our employees. Well, what if the town is 3-4 towns away, right? Like that is, okay. It adds a whole degree of difficulty. But it doesn't have to be geography. It could also be, like I was saying with my staff from Bosnia. I got a lot of staff from Bosnia in the early 2000s when there was a big influx of refugees from Bosnia. And everybody had language issues. And not just them, me too, obviously, because I don't speak Bosnian. And so the language barriers was huge. And so we had to go out, we had to find interpreters, we had to start offering classes of English as a second language. Like there was a lot of things that we would have never even considered that we would have had to take care of based on this new composition of our employee base. And there's also not only is there language and geography, but there's gender, there's age. Is your workforce getting older? Is it getting younger? Is it getting more male, more female? Like you can talk about anything when it comes to the most important changes that have been happening in any of these areas in your workforce capabilities, their skill level, the number of, or the makeup of your organization's workforce. Now, like I said, these 2 words, capability and capacity, they come up 2 more times. Once in 5.1b, when it asks you about the word assess. How do you assess? How do you know? Your workforce's capability, their skill level? And then 5.1d, if I'm not mistaken, and 5.1d is on how do you prepare? How do you prepare your organization for changing capability or capacity needs, right? So these 2 words, capability capability, and capacity will show up again in section 5.1b and 5.1d. Now, here's one small little kicker, and I'll get out of here. One small little kicker. What if you're racking your head? You're like, I'm trying to figure it out, but when I look at the last 12 months, 18 months, even 2 years, I don't think we've had any really significant changes when it comes to the composition, the makeup of our organization, or I don't think we've had any big challenges with capacity or capability levels. Okay, let's say that that is true, and it's certainly reasonable that that could be true. For the application, if it is true, and only if it is true, of course, but if it is true that you have not experienced any workforce capability, capacity, or composition changes, it would be appropriate to just simply answer, in the last 12 to 18 months, we've not had any. Don't say what I'm saying, of course, use your own words, but it would be totally fine to say, we don't have any key changes over the last 12 to 18 months in any of these areas. That would be acceptable. And if there have been, we want to know what they are, and we also want to know what you're going to do about it. What was your reaction? You found out, oh my God, we don't have enough staff. What are you doing? Oh my God, the staff we have no language barriers. What are you doing? Oh my goodness, staff coming in, they don't have the right skill level. What is your answer? What is your solution? This entire application, let me go right back to it. Just want to make this final point. This entire this question, this part of the question is really asking you about evaluating your current situation. What are your challenges? What are your changes you're experiencing in capability or capacity or makeup? And I want you to evaluate, gosh, do we have any? And if the answer is yes, then what are you doing about it? How are you going to improve the situation? And look at this. This is our first time of looking at how we evaluate and improve, which, by the way, not to let the cat out of the bag too soon, but this question of evaluating and improving appears 12 times in the application. So this is just your first look at that whole, tell us about your business. Tell us about anything that's been going on. Give us the evaluation of where you are right this second. And then tell us about any improvements that you're making or improvements that you're planning on making as a result of any of these situations popping up. All right, that's it. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions, of course, let me know. Thank you for watching. And if you got value from this video, please like, subscribe, follow, and share with your friends and colleagues. I would very much appreciate it. And of course, if you are interested in applying for a bronze, silver, or gold quality award through the American Healthcare Association, I would absolutely love to help you win.